Our next company here, we have In Person, which is amazing. All of the founders are doing so great so far. Thank you. Awesome. The company is 119, and the amazing CEO and founder is Jen. So here you go, Jen. Round of applause for Jen.
There. I'm Jen. That looks a question for all of you. If I were to faint right now, what would you do? Would you panic? Would you call 911? All right. So what if I were to tell you that I frequently faint up to 4 times a week, but I typically just need a glass of water in 5 minutes? 911 is not always the best option for those of us with chronic recurring health problems. I know this incredibly well, having had hundreds of 911 calls during my time as a student. In 3 weeks, I had 14 well meaning but unwanted 911 calls. That cost me 30% of my income that year. It caused me to nearly be arrested, and I felt so hopeless, feeling so voiceless in the emergency room when a simple solution could have been offered so much sooner. I am not alone in my experience. There are 88 different reasons why someone might call 911 for a recurring medical issue. 30% of the ER visits by the chronic illness community are deemed unnecessary each year, to the tune of $8.3 billion. This is despite the fact that 30 million Americans like me are spending $7.2 billion a year on medical alert systems. This disparity speaks to the fact that we need to improve our options. There needs to be a better way to handle these moments. Because ultimately, there's a fundamental truth here that the true first responder, it's not a paramedic, it's a bystander. Now, let's go back to this moment of I faint right now. What if instead, during this moment, you start hearing an audio message that gets your attention to get you to look at a device that I'm carrying? It directs you to scanning a QR code that in under 90 seconds, using a series of yes or no prompts, you're able to assess what the situation is and how I'd like you to help. Maybe it's I do need 5 minutes in a glass of water. Maybe it's I need the inhaler out of my backpack. Or maybe I genuinely do need paramedics, but those paramedics are strangers too, so they need to be told exactly what I need. Well, here's the good news. This exists. 109 today is a patented software as a medical device that empowers people like me with recurrence to help the surrounding environment, bystanders like you, know how to help. The ultimate goal here is to scale to all of those 88 different health conditions with recurring episodic public events. We'd like to start with asthma and diabetes. The end goal here is that this should be available on all kinds of devices, as commonplace on a smartphone as an Amber Alert. To really empower those affected while also lowering the burden on the emergency systems. So 119 today is looking to find $1 million to give us runway through 2027 that will allow us to do our pilot studies, complete our FDA pathway. 119 is most likely going to be a 510K exempt class 2 medical device and launch to our first beachhead market. I really, really never wanted to start a company, but I need a world where this exists, and my community does too. I dream of a world where fundamental rights to dignity, humanity, and respect are available to those of us with disability, chronic illness, and aging. And I need your help to get there. Please, let's build that world together today. Thank you. I'm excited to take your questions.
A quick question around, so I'm also a frequent fainter, so not nearly as frequent, but I still understand the struggle. In terms of bystanders who might have concerns around legal liability of deferring a 911 call, how have you thought about that in terms of your product integration and features?
I thought about that a fair amount. Maybe not a gigantic deep dive, but I've thought about that a fair amount. Actually, would be covered by Good Samaritan laws in all 50 states. There gets to be a little bit nuanced. A bystander happens to have, but that's something that I'm looking into.
So question about the product, is it available already or?
Well, so it lives right now on my for this product, but I actually am currently awaiting my FDA classification.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your team on the current slide here? It looks like everyone on the slide is an advisor. So who's doing the work?
I got two questions at once, so I'm gonna. Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? Right. What happened with bystanders and the quality of their response? Yes. So I actually built as a student and really know what I was getting myself into because again, I wasn't trying to build a company at that point. But I fundamentally used 100 bystanders that were on a high campus as the testers. And what really spoke to why I realized that this needed to become something bigger than just was for me. I got really good results. I went from having 4 911 calls a week to my last semester of college, I 911 call, asked for it, and exactly what I asked for. And for crystal clarity, when I talk about seeing all these different bystanders, it was not the same set of bystanders over and over again. It was hundreds of different people. Now, there was a question online about my team. You're right that I do have some extensive advisors, but I do have a lot of strategic partners. So there are many faces that are not represented on the slide. My team has two full-time people, including myself, alongside several part-time contractors.
And my question is, what would prevent existing companies that somewhat operate in the space, such as Life Alert or even on your phone in case of emergency, like what would prevent them from going and like taking over and being a competitor?
Sure. So on one hand, I would hope that my patent that I have around this would help support that process. But additionally, when we think about the competitors, as I like to tell, I wanted if it existed, I would just go buy it, right? I wouldn't need to build it. And so part of the thing that I think the competitor thing is the fact that truly that first responder is, the person who finds you. And so there needs to be a tool that exists around the bystander experience.
Have you thought about like biometric tracking data?
Yes. So I'm a biomedical engineer, so I like all those things. I just haven't quite had the budget for them yet.
But that will be part of the product.
Yay, we will take one more question.
Yeah,
from
I had
the-
a
Yes, go ahead.
quick comments. I was just wondering, I liked how you mentioned the Good Sam law. Is that something you might want to put on the app? Because I had the same question. If I saw someone fall, I would love to help, but given the litigation heavy environment we live in, I would be quite nervous about not calling 911.
Sure. And that's why when you open the system, your first question is actually about consent of, will you consent to help this person? Because if you won't, it automatically directs you to calling 911. And at no point does the system say, don't call 911. It's just giving guided suggestions based on that person's preferences and medical history.
Got it. Thank you.
Amazing. Huge round of applause for Jen. Yes. Thank you. Great job, Jen. Awesome.